After this weekend, we'll be halfway through the championship season. What? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and may I just say a happy new year for all of you. 2021 is going to be a much better year than the stinker we had from last year. If you enjoyed your new year and you're happy it's 2021, please make sure you do give this video a like. It tremendously helps. And if you could subscribe if you're new around here, please do so. We're still on 358 subscribers. We've got to push for 400 as soon as we can. Before we move on to my score predictions, if you got a correct score in the midweek games, your comment will be on the screen right now. A couple of you did. Well done to all of you that got a correct score in midweek. I managed to get 2 correct scores in midweek. One Premier League and one Championship. The Premier League one was Burnley and Sheffield United, and the Championship one was Rotherham and Barnsley, the Yorkshire derby, which ended 2-1 to Barnsley. This is what the Lexus Hall of Fame looks like now. As you can see, I'm starting to claw back a little bit, just getting an odd couple of points every single match day now. So definitely, Charlie and Joshua, you better watch yourselves because I'm starting to climb. And in terms of the people below me, the football's still doing well. FIFA's doing all right. Owen Armitage is pushing up there as well, along with Sam Newbold. It's going to be very close between that part of the table. Without any further ado, let's start predicting Matchday 23, and let's start 2021 with a bang. We'll start off with tonight's game, Sheffield Wednesday going up against Derby. Two sides in a very low part of the table, but both sides actually doing pretty well in terms of form right now. Sheffield Wednesday have not lost in their last 3 games, picking up 2 wins in their last 3 matches. But despite that, Tony Pulis has left the club. He's been sacked by Shansiri, the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, and he's put out a statement quite recently basically stating that hiring Tony Pulis was a mistake. Now, he may have opened a big can of worms. I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of decision making has opened a can of worms. But did he really need to say that statement, especially if Tony Pulis wants to look for work elsewhere? Derby right now doing very, very well under Wayne Rooney. Only 1 defeat in Wayne Rooney's management. They will be full of confidence away from home, following that they've beaten Birmingham City by 4-0. It was a complete performance, despite not having Martin Waghorn, who was suspended, of course. Colin Kazim-Rich has really stepped up in this game and is such a talent. I'm really excited to see the development on this young striker. For score in this game, I'm thinking the team that's going to give me the most confidence is Derby right now. I know Sheffield Wednesday won at home in midweek. It was a great 2-1 victory against Middlesbrough, although it was completely against the run of play, if I'm going to be honest with you. They got 2 fantastic chances and they made them count. With this game, I'm going to say Derby may edge this one. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Derby. FIFA 21's predicted my alternative prediction, a 0-0 draw. If you guys want to see what FIFA 21 predicted for this weekend's games, make sure you click on the eye icon somewhere over there. Next up is Birmingham going up against Blackburn Rovers. Birmingham are really struggling at home. They've only won 2 home games all this season, with 5 home defeats in their last 6 home games. In their last 2, they've conceded 8 goals. They are really struggling to get anything at St Andrews. And with Blackburn, they're now the top goal scorers of the championship once again. They did lose out to Huddersfield by 2-1. I feel they were a little bit unlucky, but I think they were very, very wasteful with their opportunities, which is ultimately why they lost that game. They definitely played good enough to try and compete with Huddersfield, especially with the quality in the squad they have, but they just didn't take all their chances on the day. With this game, I think Blackburn will look at this game, they'll attack Birmingham, and Karanka's got to think of something at home. He's got to give some resoluteness to this squad at home and try and scrape a result. I think back to their 1-0 victory against Brentford in the opening day of the season. I thought, okay, St Andrews is going to be a difficult place for people to go to. But it seems it's a difficult place to go to when they play Coventry, but not when they play Birmingham, their actual home for that stadium. So they need to fix that sort of resoluteness and play well at home. I'm going to say a 3-0 away victory to Blackburn. A lot of Birmingham fans are running out of patience with Karanka, and I think this may be the final nail of the coffin. And FIFA 21 has actually predicted a 2-0 away victory to Blackburn, so very close positions between myself and FIFA. Next up is Brentford going up against Bristol City. Both sides with contrasting results in midweek. Brentford played pretty recently. They played on Thursday, playing against Bournemouth, who of course did have a break following that their game was postponed against Millwall due to an outbreak of COVID-19 in Millwall. They both played against each other, and it was really, really close. I say Bournemouth definitely had the first half. They were definitely the better side with Solanke taking the lead. But then it was a fantastic turnaround with Canos and Dalsgaard getting the 2 goals for Brentford, which manages to edge them now in the top 2 of the table. And I tell you what, Brentford have got the best form in all 4 English leagues at the moment. And if they can just continue this momentum and they don't have any signs of slowing down, then I'd say Brentford can definitely win, particularly very, very comfortably. We've seen Norwich drop points pretty recently in the last couple of games. If Brentford can continue to win games and not drop points, then maybe Brentford could try and pull away from Norwich a little bit. But with this game against Bristol City, who they did lose against Luton Town in midweek, they did have a little bit of quality finding with their goal. I know it was a known goal, but there's some fantastic through ball pass by Semenyo, which created the own goal for Bristol City. Unfortunately, defensively, they were just really, really slacking, and they allowed Luton to get two pretty cheap goals, in my opinion. This time last year, I remember Bristol City playing against Brentford, and Ashley Williams with a red card resulted in Bristol City losing 4-0 to Brentford. I don't think it's going to be as bad as that, but I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory to Brentford. I think it'll be very, very close, and FIFA 21 is actually going to agree with me. Next up is Luton going up against Queensborough Rangers. Both of these sides look to be in deep trouble, although Luton did manage to pick up a win. Only their third win in 11 matches. So they did have a pretty poor run of form, Luton Town, but they seem to be getting wins when it's absolutely necessary, stopping the rot of poor form. As for Queensborough Rangers, they would need that sort of opportunity right now. They'd had a draw against top of the table Norwich, although maybe with the chances they should have had, they probably should have won. That Brighton side Samuel miss. I mean, my goodness me. He wasn't even 2 yards out. They're just not winning at the moment. They've not won in their last 9 to 10 matches. They need to start picking up points as soon as they can. Otherwise, they'll get dragged into the relegation fight. And Queensborough Rangers, with the squad they have, I don't think should be nowhere near this position, in my opinion. I can see Queensborough Rangers stepping up for this game. I think Queensborough Rangers have definitely given some sort of desperation to try and get some more points. And they're definitely playing under Mark Warburton. There's no doubt about that. But I think with this Luton squad, for how good they are at home, I'm going to say 2-1 victory to Luton, but it's very, very close. This has been the toughest prediction to predict so far. FIFA 21's actually predicted a 3-0 away victory to Queensborough Rangers, where if that happens, I mean, what a prediction that would have been. Next up is Millwall against Coventry. Two sides that don't score many goals. Millwall have had a little bit of a break following their COVID-19 outbreak, so maybe this could be an opportunity for the players to rejuvenate themselves and be eager to get back onto the playing field. But they have really poor run of form at the moment, and they've got a couple of their players linked away in transfer windows as well. I know Troy Parrott's been linked back to Tottenham for the fact he's just not played enough football, unfortunately, for Millwall for the injury. In terms of Coventry, away from home, they've got one of the poorest away records in the whole entire league, with only one away win all season. And unless they fix something and they get a good victory against Millwall, which they definitely are capable of, then I could see Coventry still struggling away from home. For me, I'm going to say this is going to end as a 0-0 draw. I don't really see many goal mouth action between these two sides, and FIFA 21 is actually going to agree with me. Next up is Norwich going up against Barnsley. Top of the table Norwich are going against the most informed team of the championship, so this should be a pretty fiery matchup. Norwich obviously have dropped points a little bit recently. Obviously, most recently, they've dropped points against Queensborough Rangers in midweek. They went ahead following a very dubious penalty decision, but then Queensborough Rangers got a penalty of their own, which I think did level the scores, and I think it was deserved based on performances. And I think what was the problem with Norwich, they just simply didn't kill the game off. With the Barnsley team right now, I'm really excited to see how they perform against this Norwich side, because some of the football they play under Ishmael is really, really engaging. I like the movement they have between the midfield and the strike partnership. They can interchange the play, they can switch the way they play as well. They're a very versatile side under Valerian Ishmael. It's not really a side that you traditionally know what you're going to get from. And that makes teams a nightmare to try and figure out what sort of playing style each side's going to play against. Versatility is going to be very, very key if you want to increase your form, as long as the players can definitely perform under it. Now, in terms of this game, it's so close, because Norwich are definitely not their strongest. They've got a couple of injuries, especially to Tim Krul, most noticeably with McGovern goal, although to be fair, he has actually stepped up quite well. Barnsley could definitely use this chance to try and get into the top 6. They are within touching distance of that top 6. But I'm going to say Norwich are going to find a way to win this. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Norwich, and FIFA 21 is going to predict a 3-0 victory to Norwich. I think it'll be a bit closer than that. Next up is Preston going up against Nottingham Forest. Once again, both these sides actually in pretty good runs of form. Preston, with 4 wins in their last 6, all of a sudden now look pretty comfortable in the top half of the table. And for a minute, we thought that they were probably going to be dragged into a relegation battle. But all of a sudden, Preston can now win at home. I honestly cannot believe it. They beat Coventry midweek. Wasn't the best performance by all means, but they managed to get the results and they managed to take their chances and make them count. And they pretty much limited Coventry until like the final 20 minutes where they went a bit of a rampage trying to get a goal. But they did well to keep the clean sheet, especially on conceding the most goals in the league. They are now no longer the team with the most goals conceded in the league. I think that now goes down to Wycombe Wanderers. And in terms of Nottingham Forest, they have not lost in their last 4 games, although they've not won in those 4 games. They need to actually improve their results and get wins rather than 4 score draws in a row. So they definitely need to try and get those wins if they want to climb up the table as well. Definitely with the likes of Derby overtaking them, and you've got the likes of Rotherham breathing down their necks as well. Winning is going to really help Nottingham Forest kickstart their season. Could this team just be one bridge too far for Chris Hughton to try and fix? I just think it's just too disorganised. It's just disjointed. I just don't see an identity. And if you don't have an identity, you're not going to perform at your best. For this game, this ended 1-1 last year. And I think this is going to be the same for this year. I'm more or less tempted to edge Preston over Nottingham Forest, but I think Forest have got a little bit more resilience about them now. I think Preston will struggle with that a little bit. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. FIFA 21's predicted a 1-0 Preston win. Could it happen either way? Next up is Rotherham going up against Cardiff City. Both sides with a defeat in midweek. Rotherham lost at home to Barnsley. Although, to be fair to them, Rotherham were fantastic in that second half. Unfortunately, they just couldn't equal the scores, and Barnsley managed to hold on in the end. And Cardiff lost out to Wycombe Wanderers, where they were 2-0 down against Wycombe, actually. Junior Hoylett managed to make it 2-1 and make it a little bit interesting. But they did lose out to a team that have only won twice all season. And that's the problem with Cardiff. They looked really good with 4 wins in a row, and now they've got 3 defeats in a row. They've got Bristol City's streaks problem. They can have a good winning streak and a poor losing streak, and they need to get out of this losing streak as much as they can. And they play a Rotherham side where they're going to be absolutely desperate to get points. They've now fallen into the bottom 3 for the first time this season. They're going to be so desperate to try and get these wins. They have got 2 games in hand, albeit, but they need to make every single game count. They would feel injustice for the result that they had against Barnsley as well. You know what? I mean, I'm going to predict a couple of shocks, but I think this one's going to be a bit of a shock that I feel a little bit confident about. I'm going to say Rotherham may win this one. I'm going to say a 2-1 victory to Rotherham. FIFA 21's predicted a 3-1 victory to Cardiff. We'll predict exactly the opposite things, and we'll see which one of us is right. Next up is Swansea and Watford. I'm really intrigued to see the result in this game. Of course, Swansea had a 0-0 draw with Reading in midweek. Not really a game that we can really commentate on, really. Not much managed to went on in this game. Watford recently managed to pick up a win against Norwich. A fantastic result for Xisco Munoz and Ismail Yassar that managed to get the first goal. They didn't manage to play midweek following that they were due to play Millwall, but because of the COVID, they did have a bit of a break there. So they could be a little bit more energised than the Swansea side that did have to play on Thursday. So definitely both squads maybe at different levels of fitness, but it's not necessarily going to make the result go the way for the fittest team. Because in terms of quality, both these sides are going to be very tight. And actually, I'm really excited to see what kind of style Xisco Munoz is going to put for Watford against this Swansea side, who do like to hog the ball, but they do allow the team to play as well. And what's been really good about Swansea, they can really diversify the way they play, which I'm really liking. They can get a load of the ball and out-possess teams, but they can also try and chase the ball and press, which is a really good strength for Swansea to have. In terms of this game, I don't think there'll be many goals. FIFA 21's predicted a 1-0 victory to Swansea. So to be different, I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory to Watford. And we'll see which one of FIFA and myself is correct. Penultimate game is Wycombe going up against Middlesbrough. Wycombe will be jumping for joy for they managed to get their first win in 12 matches. They almost forgot what one of those wins felt like. Now, the last time they won a game, they managed to win their next following game. But they've got to play against a Middlesbrough side, which will not be easy. And fun fact of the day for you, this is the first meeting of Wycombe and Middlesbrough. We've got no head-to-head history to report on these two sides. It's officially the first time these two sides have played against each other. So I'm really intrigued to see the outcome of this game. Middlesbrough obviously lost against Sheffield Wednesday. I definitely feel they should have done a lot better. Duncan Watmore managing to get the goal, who has been linked with a couple of clubs recently. Definitely a star player in the making for Middlesbrough. This game's really close. I really don't know what to predict. For me, I would love it to see Wycombe win again, but for me, I don't see it. I think Middlesbrough are going to be a bridge too far. I'm going to say a 2-1 away victory to Middlesbrough. And FIFA 21 has predicted the exact opposite and gone for 2-1 Wycombe. And the final game is Stoke going up against Bournemouth. Stoke managed to get a draw midweek against Nottingham Forest, although they did take the lead, and I think they'll be a little bit disappointed that they couldn't manage to hold on to that lead. Bournemouth managed to lose against Brentford on Thursday. I definitely feel for that first half performance, they should have given themselves more of a cushion, but unfortunately they just lost the game and ultimately Brentford started to take over. And it was a bit disappointing how little Bournemouth actually dictated throughout the whole 90 minutes. But I think this Stoke side, I think Bournemouth can definitely dictate them a little bit more, since it's a side that doesn't hold the ball much. But they've got to be very wary of the counter-attack and their set pieces. And their set pieces was exactly how they managed to score against Nottingham Forest in midweek. So they definitely need to be drilled in that part of the field. With this game, this is going to be really close. I was thinking 0-0 actually, but I don't really see Bournemouth sitting down for this one. I'm going to say 1-0 Bournemouth, but I was very tempted to put a 0-0 draw in this game. FIFA 21 has predicted a 2-1 victory to Stoke. A very, very intriguing result in my opinion. So there you have it guys, that's my score predictions for Matchday 23 of the Championship. If you guys want to have a chance to be in the Lexus Hall of Fame and get your comment included in my review, make sure you comment your score predictions in the comments down below. All of this weekend's games are always in the description down below, so you can pause the video and you can predict the games yourself. So in the second part of the video, obviously, is our Premier League predictions. Fingers crossed with no more games getting postponed, let's predict some of these games. So Everton and West Ham, really close. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw actually. Man United and Aston Villa. Intriguing that Man United are playing against a side that desperately want Jack Grealish. He's been heavily linked with Man United at the moment. I'm going to say 2-1 Man United. Spurs and Leeds. 1-0 Spurs. I don't think there'll be many goals actually. Crystal Palace and Sheffield United. I'm going to say 2-0 Crystal Palace. Sheffield United have equalled the longest winning streak in the Premier League along with Queen's Park Rangers in the 2012-13 season, and unfortunately I think it will be extended. Brighton and Wolves. I'm going to say 1-1. West Brom and Arsenal. I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory to Arsenal against their relegation rival. Burnley and Fulham. That's tight. I'm going to say 1-1 draw actually. Newcastle and Leicester. I'm going to say a 1-0 away victory to Leicester. I think it'll be close. Chelsea, Man City. I've got no hope as a Chelsea fan right now. I'm going to say 3-1 Manchester City. And finally, Southampton and Liverpool. Not guaranteed that Liverpool will win this one, but I'm going to predict a narrow 2-1 away victory. But that wraps it up for today's video. If you guys liked what you see and you're happy it's the new year, it's 2021, please make sure you do give this video a like, tremendously appreciated. If you haven't done, please subscribe to the channel, it would really make my day. And if you haven't done, please share my channel to as many people as you can. All of that would really make my day. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care.